When he has brought out all his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. Jesus used this figure of speech with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So Jesus again said to them, "Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who come before me are thieves and bandits, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved, and will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." The word of the Lord. There's something deeply comforting to me about the image of a shepherd. Not the clean, polished kind of postcard version, but the real thing. The guy who smells like the field, who knows the terrain, who stays up at night watching out for trouble. Today, when we place that image alongside Jesus talking about gates and sheep, something begins to take shape. We don't just get the image of a caretaker. We get someone who stands between us and danger. Someone who both leads and guards. Someone who knows when to open the way and when to hold the line. Psalm 23, that famous psalm, paints that peaceful picture that so many of us carry around. Green pastures, still waters, a sense that we are guided and provided for. But it's easy to miss that kind of peace doesn't come from the absence of danger. Actually, it comes right in the midst of it. It comes from the presence of a shepherd who knows what he's doing. Sheep don't always find their way to still water on their own. They don't instinctively choose safe paths. They wander around. They panic. They follow the wrong voices. What makes the difference is who's leading them. In the passage from John that we just read, Jesus adds another layer to this. He doesn't just describe himself as the shepherd. He talks about being the gate. And now there's a different image. Now he's not only guiding the sheep, he's positioning himself at the entrance because the point of access is also the point of protection. In those ancient days, like this picture showing, there wasn't really a physical gate. The shepherd would literally lay down in front of the opening at night. Nothing got in or went out without going through him. So now think about that. The same one who leads us into green pastures is also the one who stands guard over our lives. The one who calls us forward is also the one who says, not everything gets to have access to you. And that's where this gets personal. Because most of us are pretty good at letting things into our lives that really don't belong there. Voices that tear us down, expectations that exhaust us, habits that quietly drain the life out of us. We don't always recognize that danger because it doesn't look like danger, at least at first. It looks like an opportunity or just an enjoyable distraction or even a comfort. I heard a story about a man named Tom, and Tom volunteered at a small animal farm that rescued animals. One of the sheep they took in had spent most of its life in a chaotic environment. Too many animals, not enough space, not enough care, constant noise. When that sheep arrived at the new farm, it wouldn't settle down. Even though it now had wide open pasture, clean water, and good care, It just wandered, pacing along the fence line, back and forth, back and forth. It barely ate. It didn't rest. The farmer was kind of puzzled, but then he realized what was happening. The sheep didn't know how to live in peace. It had spent so long surviving in chaos that calm felt unsafe. So the farmer did something very simple. Every evening, he would sit near the entrance of the pasture, not doing much, just being there. Over time, that little sheep noticed, and slowly it began to graze a little farther from the fence. Eventually, it would lie down. Not because the world had suddenly become perfect, but because it had learned to trust the one who was watching over it. That's the kind of relationship Psalm 23 is pointing to. It's not about escaping life's valleys. It's about learning to trust the presence that meets us when we're there. The shepherd does not eliminate every shadow. He walks with us through them. And John reminds us that the same shepherd also discerns what should and should not enter our lives. He's not just concerned with where we go, but with what we allow to shape us. And here's the tension. We like the idea of a shepherd that provides, but we're not always comfortable with a gatekeeper who sets limits. We want guidance, but we don't always want boundaries. We want care, but we resist being told that voice is not for you, or that path will lead you somewhere you don't want to go. But think about it. What good is a shepherd who leads you to safety and then lets danger follow in right behind you? The gate matters. There are voices in our world that sound very convincing, but they don't have our best interest in mind. They promise fulfillment, but leave us empty. They stir fear instead of trust. They push us toward towards comparison, to anxiety, and to isolation. And if we're not paying attention, we'll start following them without even realizing it. Jesus tells us that his sheep recognize his voice, not because he's the loudest, but because it's the most familiar. It's been consistent and steady and trustworthy. That kind of recognition doesn't happen overnight. It grows over time through prayer, through reading scripture, through those quiet moments when we begin to notice that voice brings life, and that voice does not. And that's really the heart of it. Jesus talks about offering life, not just existence, not just getting by, but something deeper and fuller and more grounded. And that kind of life requires trust. Trust that the shepherd knows where he's leading. Trust that the gate is there for a reason. Trust that not everything we want to do is good for us. Going back to that sheep on the farm, what changed its behavior wasn't a new set of rules. It was the steady presence of someone it could trust. Over time, that presence reshaped its instincts. That's what faith does. It reshapes our instincts. We start to recognize what leads to life and what doesn't. We begin to move away from things that drain us and towards things that restore us. Not perfectly, Certainly not all at once, but gradually. And maybe that's where you find yourself right now. Maybe you're in a place that feels more like a valley than a pasture. Maybe there are voices in your life that are hard to sort through. Maybe you're realizing that you've let some things go that you shouldn't have, or that you've let some things in that just don't belong. Or maybe, like that sheep, you've gotten so used to chaos that peace feels unfamiliar. Wherever you are, the invitation is the same. There is a shepherd who knows your name. There is a gate that stands open for you and also stands guard over you. There's a presence that doesn't disappear when things get difficult. There's a voice that continues to call, not with pressure, not with fear, but with a steady invitation toward life. The question isn't whether that voice is speaking. The question is whether we're learning to recognize it. Because when we do, something begins to shift. We don't have to chase every opportunity. We don't have to listen to every opinion. We don't have to carry every burden. We begin to trust that being led is better than wandering, that being protected is better than being exposed, that the one who stands at the gate isn't keeping us from life, but guiding us into it. Slowly, over time, we find ourselves doing something we didn't think we could do. We rest. Not because everything around us is perfect, but because the shepherd is near. That is enough. In the name of the Father, and the Son,